Hello and welcome. It's The Chat. I am Manny. My guest on the program is a prolific journalist, writer, and promoter of music in the early 70s and 80s.
Chief Anthony Amadi is a political writer, analyst, and consultant. The CEO of Nigerian media and marketing consultancy firm Northwood Resources Nigeria Limited, an author and publisher of numerous books, and currently a freelance content producer. Born on the 1st of July 1948 in Egede Town, Udi local government area in Enugu State, Tony had his primary education at St. Cyril's School, Egede, Enugu State, St. Patrick's School, Obolafo, and attended St. Michael's Catholic School, Gudi, Nasarawa State before proceeding to Igbo Union Grammar School, Kanu, for his secondary education. Tony took a 6-month course in journalism under the famous Fleet Street journalist Richard Williams by correspondence and obtained a diploma in 1965, which established him as a practicing journalist. He further obtained a diploma in marketing at the Centre for Business Studies, Greenwich, London, UK, and diploma in business management studies from the University of Westminster, London. After completing his studies, Tony returned to Nigeria and worked as a publishing clerk with Thomas Nelson Publishers, Apapa, Nigeria, from 1965 to 1967, and as public affairs consultant with EMI Nigeria Limited in the 70s. He moved back to England, where he joined the United Kingdom-based publishing venture and rose to the position of sales manager of London division of Encyclopedia Britannica before returning to Nigeria in 1998. Upon his return, Tony joined the New Breed magazine team, where he rose to the position of editor of the magazine. He was the first Nigerian journalist to interview General Emeka Odumegwu Ojukwu during his exile in Abidjan, Ivory Coast, an interview which led to his eventual detention by the Nigerian Security Organization, now the Department of Security Services, DSS, after he published the interview in 1977. Tony Amadi is the author and editor of several published books on Nigerian politics. He's married with children.
Welcome to the program, Tony Amadi.
Thank you.
That exactly was the story of your life.
Exactly.
You have done so many things
yes.
in journalism, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
Right. When did you start journalism?
After secondary education, the way it happened was that I decided to do training in journalism. And I registered by correspondence to a London School of Journalism based in Reading, England, and run by one Mr. Richard Williams. He was one of the best journalists in Fleet Street at the time. But he turned over and he started running, journalism school by correspondence. Just like, all those rapid results college.
Yeah.
That was everything for those who want to, enhance their education. He started this London School of Journalism, and by stroke of chance, I saw the advert in the Daily Times, and I registered.
I know you worked in New Breed magazine.
Yes.
And New Breed magazine then was the first news magazine.
It was certainly the first news magazine.
It was owned by Dr. Chris Okolie. Yes. Chief Chris Okolie.
Chief Chris Okolie. Yeah.
But who were you looking up to in those days when you were growing up?
Incidentally, when I was in Gudi with my brother, my senior brother, one night, 4 a.m., Dr. Azikiwe, Nnamdi Azikiwe, was going to Kaduna to meet Amadi Bello, and he stopped in Gudi. And my brother was the one running the night train. The staff clerk had to give them line to pass, So he came, woke me up, said, come and see Zeke, come quick, come and see Zeke. And I came there. Zeke's coach, he had a whole coach, and he was working late, but his light was on. So he brought me, said, that is Zik. And I stuck my eye on him, and he talked to me. He said, what are you doing at this hour of the day, coming out? I said, my brother said Zik was passing, and it's very important that I see him. So I came out and said, Azikiwe.
How did he react to that?
He said, well, what are you doing? I said, I'm in school. My school is just across the corner, but you can't see it now, it's dark, and so on. So he was very interested in me and said, okay, go home and sleep. It's too early for you. So that was how that train now left.
How did that feeling, meeting him for the first time?
Fantastic. It was really fantastic. And he was very respectful. And in future, when I interviewed Ojukwu in Abidjan, and I asked him what he thought of Ojukwu, Ojukwu said, oh, what can I say? Zik of Africa is now Owele of Onitsha. It was sort of downgrading him because there had been a problem with Zik and the family during the war when he nearly virtually put Zik in house arrest, you know. So I brought I came back to Zik. After that was published in New Breed magazine, I had to go to get reaction from Zik. And I went to Nsukka. And he remembered me as the young man he met several years ago when I was in my primary school.
What's your opinion of the man Zik?
Zik is an incredible man. He's an incredible man. He loved Nigeria more than Nigerians, you know. And he was against Biafra. But he wanted, because it was now war, he wanted to get Ojukwu to understand certain things. That you're not going to get much out of all this from the way you are posturing. But Ojukwu was not going to hear that kind of story, you know. And sort of, he was ready to take Zik's, you know, Zik was helping out all those countries that recognized Biafra. 4 of them, I think France, Ivory Coast, Tanzania, and so on. It was, and of course Gabon, he was the one that organized it. And because of the respect they have for him, they were able to, now do that for Biafra. But Ojukwu will not take Zik's suggestion. There were so many things he suggested to Ojukwu, but Ojukwu was not interested. He just wanted that confrontation that led us to war.
What was the turning point of your career?
My turning point, I would say that my interview with Ojukwu, I was the first Nigerian journalist to interview him during the war. I mean, during his exile. And that was a whole story of its own. Because I went to Abidjan from New Breed. And I decided
who sponsored your trip?
I went on holiday. It was Christmas. And I said, let me take this Christmas to go and see whether I can make a headway to reach Ojukwu in Abidjan. And I went.
What were you looking for?
I wanted to interview him.
Nigeria is 60 years old, especially in this period, you know, and what are your thoughts about the country?
I still have hopes for this country. Why do I do that? Because we have to go through this kind of situation. When we have election riggers, manipulators, bad governance, you can't remain there. We've got intelligent people in this country. But I know that after this era, Nigeria will still be a great country. Never mind the misrule going on today and in the past. One day, these things will end and the true Nigeria will emerge.
Which is the true Nigeria you're looking for?
When our children will take control and run a country like the way they've all studied. We have very high literacy rates in Nigeria, you know, apart from those abroad who have a lot to bring back, you know, but they're not interested in the governance because they feel they will get killed.
I haven't written for a long time about the entertainment industry in the 70s. How would you compare it to what is going on now?
We paid their dues for them in those days. The Nigerian boys, Davido, Wizkid, how many of them? Tiwa Savage, all of them, we had opened the door for them. Because it was hard in the past. Remember that I formed the group called BLO.
What? Tell me, how did it happen?
Right. Remember that Ginger Baker was like I was hosting him, not in my house, but in Nigeria. I was the only one he knew when he came. And, we set up everything, took him to Fela, took him to the joints, saw everything for himself. And being a big name in England, British press were monitoring what he was doing in Nigeria. He ended up getting together a studio in Ikeja and was jamming around the nightclubs and eventually took Beckley Jones, Laolu Atkins, and Tunde Kuboye and the Lijadu sisters. And he called them Salt, Ginger Baker Salt. And they toured Germany, did the Munich Jazz Festival in the 70s. And from there, he did a world tour to America. So these guys were exposed. But I and Edi Aderinoku was managing the clusters, even though he was a top journalist running the Daily Express. But on the side, he loved music and was encouraging the youngsters. So after the war, he said, look, we need guitarists. We need musicians from the East. Because he knew that they were all there, So I took him to Enugu. We got Beckley Jones, brought him to Lagos. There was one other, Frank Foster, who was a sax player, who came with us. And he co-opted them into the clusters. From there, Beckley started,
What about Mike Odumosu?
Mike Odumosu was, he was not playing for any band, but he was one of those hanging around.
Well, but because that's the O in blow.
BLO.
Yes.
So when they came back from their Salt World Tour, Laolu and Beckley, I got them back. I said, gentlemen, I have a suggestion. Let us form a trio. And I said, look, we should do a trio. It will be the first trio in Africa. And I know you guys can do it. You've got the experience. Laolu is a drummer. You are the guitarist. And we can then get a third person. And they brought Mike Odumosu. 3 of them started practicing at Yaba Roundabout, where Shegun Bokno had his Revolution nightclub.
Yes.
Yeah, that was where they started rehearsing.
Really?
One day they were practicing. People were hearing strange sounds. Before you knew it, that place was crowded in the center of Yaba bus stop. So, fortunately for them, Osibisa were coming to town, and I got them the job of becoming the support band at King George V Stadium in Lagos. That night, they were waiting for Osibisa. Osibisa didn't turn up in time, but they kept the audience, and by the time Osibisa came, they were still wanting more blow. They wanted more blow, blow, and that night was their making.
Unfortunately, death has given its own blow to the blow.
Exactly.
I mean, they had broken up before then.
They had broken up.
What happened?
We were toying with the idea of having the last act, BLO, the last act, so that Nigerians can see them again. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. Beckley died in circumstances that you might call it COVID or whatever. But I remember that morning, I think early July, he was just going to his 72nd birthday, just as I was also going to my 72nd as well. And he called me, Tony, I don't know what's happening to me. I don't know how I feel. I want to get my doctor to take me to do a COVID test. And I said, okay, let me send you some money. I sent him some money immediately. And by the time, I never knew whether he got that money or not. I was now ringing. He didn't pick. The next morning, somebody called me. Do I know Beckley is dead? I said, no, can't be true.
How did it make you feel?
Oh, sad.
Devastated.
Because he was not only my best friend, we talk every day. Our exchanges on WhatsApp was at least 3 times every day. So when he died, I mean, and unfortunately, I couldn't go to his burial because of COVID.
Pick a question.
Okay. This one.
Right? That's the question you have picked.
Okay.
Answer it then. Read it out.
What's the difference between knowledge and wisdom, and why does it matter? Wisdom is everything. They will tell you that knowledge is power, right? But wisdom is obviously the most important. I remember one day I went to church and we were picking papers like this. Whatever you get is what God wants you, gives you. And I picked it, it said wisdom. And I felt so great. Because I know that with wisdom, God has done it for you. Because you will always know how to tackle issues in life, in any circumstance.
So if you were asked what are the 5 most important things in life, is wisdom one of them?
Definitely.
Would you say life has treated you fairly?
If you say it hasn't treated you fairly, you will be insulting God. Because God, you know how God saved me from Biafra? That was a story on its own. Because I was not fighting the real fight, but I was giving succor to the soldiers through music. But on 3 weeks to the end of the war, I was captured. Our group were, what do you call it? When the army seizes you up to go and join, force you to do this.
Conscripted?
Conscription, yeah. They conscripted us at Nkwere in Imo State and took us to Umuahia for training. Within less than 2 hours, we were already asked to go and fight. And the Nigerians were already in Mbosi, which is like 10, 12 kilometers. In fact, you could hear the bombs. They were throwing bombs closer to where we are. And that was when I realized that if nothing is done, they've not given us proper training, but they want you to go and die in the front. So I just walked out of the camp, took a bucket to go and fetch water. Nobody recognized me at the gate, which was heavily fortified. And I sneaked out and followed a pathway, filled jungle of snakes and all sorts of things. But I was moving and moving until I got to a road going into the Imo River Bridge. We managed to cross under the parapet of the bridge because Ojukwu was on top and I was under with my group trying to find our way out. That was how I got out of that. And the end of the war came for me 2 days later. The very night Ojukwu was heading out of Biafra, Uli Airport, was the day that I managed to get to Port Harcourt and actually got into Obasanjo's camp. As I was approaching the Obasanjo, he was there drilling his men in the early morning drill. And a voice came, "Tony Amadi, what are you doing here?" And that was Roy Chicago, who had written so many years about in Lagos, with his band and everything. I said, "What am I doing here?" I said, "Roy." You know what he did? He went to Obasanjo and said, "Olu, this is my friend. I'm taking him back to Lagos." I said, "Okay, go, take." That very point, we drove with his group in a bus to the airport on the Port Harcourt Road. You know, the old Air Force base in Port Harcourt. We went there, got into a hopper, and we were in Lagos 2 hours later. And that was the end of the war for me.
So at what stage did you think of getting married in all of this?
Yes, after First Tax 77. In fact, by First Tax 77, I went to interview Ojukwu in 77. First Tax had started. But it was Christmas of 76 that I traveled to interview Ojukwu. And when I went to the bank, I didn't go until the last shopping day, which was 23rd of December 1976. And I went to African Continental Bank to get foreign exchange. Ticket was not a problem because you can always turn to the airport at the airport. Once you have your passport, you can always buy the ticket. And I wanted to go to Abidjan. So I bought ticket, went for foreign exchange, and I met this woman as I was entering, and she said, what do I want? That they've closed. But she went and begged the manager. The manager said, no, they can't turn back the clock. Tell him that it's too late. So she now directed me across to UBA and told me somebody, a colleague of hers, to buy the foreign exchange. So I got the foreign exchange, traveled to Abidjan, came back later and came looking for her to say thank you. Without you, I couldn't have gone to Abidjan. And said, okay, no, she didn't even remember me. But something told me that that is the woman you have to marry.
Really?
I think God just gave that to me and said, look.
She an Ivorian or?
No, Nigerian. In Lagos. She's from Anambra State. And she didn't take me serious. But she remembered, she said, oh, that guy
Why would she not take you serious?
Well, because I was quite young, and good looking though, but didn't do much for her because she was not really looking for all that.
So when did she finally say yes?
Well, I pushed. I managed to find other relations and started making my push, and she realized I was serious, and she then said, well, you have to go
all
to
of
my
the children
dad.
that you have
We all
are from her.
Yes.
One of your children is into the entertainment industry as well.
Yes.
If I'm right to think
You're
that
right,
she manages Tiwa Savage.
Yes, she manages Tiwa Savage. That is my second daughter.
Really? Okay, so what are the other ones doing?
My other one, the first one.
None of them is into writing?
None of them is writing as such. The first one did marketing and biochemistry.
So you're not the type of father that delves into
them. No. She actually said one day afterward that she studied it, said she wanted to study what daddy studied and what mommy studied. That was why she had combined honors in marketing. Because when I left Nigeria, I went to start studying again. When I did management, and then studied marketing, international marketing, and so on.
This moment now, you are asked to take 5 things that are most important to you on a castaway journey. What are the 5 most important things you pick in a hurry?
It's a tough one. I think I must have my Bible.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe once I have that Bible, maybe that will give me enough reading, maybe 1 or 2 other books. I think I will also have my chaplet, full rosary, which I always have in my pocket.
Then what?
Well, maybe one changing clothes, one something to
warm
change.
Clothing?
Yes. If there's a way to carry water, that will make it cool for me. Then I can last for some maybe weeks or days.
What do you wish for yourself for the rest of your life?
Wow. What do I wish? I want to see my grandchildren grow up, maybe have their own children, and maybe I die as a great-grandfather. Right?
Thank you very much.
And thank you, man.
It's been fun.
It's great to
having you on the program.
Thank you so much.
Have enjoyed it. Have you?
I did, of course.
Thank you very much, Tony Amadi, once again, for being on the program, The Chats. I am Manny. See you next time. The Chat is produced by Channels Television. You can watch it again online Just visit our social media platforms: Twitter, YouTube, Facebook.